Okay, this quick tutorial is going to give you some advice on how to prepare for the upcoming population assessment. And hopefully you've opened up the revision advice document and you'll see that there are 5 bullet points which I've just highlighted here on your screen. So what you're going to want to do is try to prepare an answer for each of these 5. And you're going to be marked according to how well you respond to those questions. So how much detail do you give in each of the answers? So let's have a look at this first question. How does a country control its population growth? Okay. Now we studied China specifically, but we have talked about a number of other countries. So if you are not wanting your country to grow anymore, what kind of things can you do? Now, a simple answer to that might be saying just introduce a one-child policy. But actually, what you really want to do is say, how do you enforce that? And what other things can countries do to try to control the number of children they're having? So, for example, you could say women could be taught about contraception. Now, that's still quite a simple description. So you could go a little bit further and try to tell me why would women being taught about contraception, for example, help a country control its population growth? And give me more details. You might even choose to go beyond describing and explain how introducing something like educating women about contraception might influence the decisions they make about the number of children they're going to have, for example. Another piece of advice I'd say on this is try to think of more than just one. You're going to be looking to try to say as much as you can, so as many points as you can, and you're going to try to describe them in as much detail as you can in how they would work. How would they control population growth? So what I'm hoping you will avoid doing is just creating a list. Let's have a look at the second one. Describe the effects of trying to control population growth for a country you have studied. Right, well, we have studied China. And when they tried to control their population by introducing this one-child policy, it had some positive and some negative effects. Okay, so another word for the effect might be the impact of something. Okay, so for example, if your parents took away your pocket money, the effect of that would be that you have no pocket money and you'd be poor. So likewise, if the country is controlling its population growth, it affects the country. It doesn't just have to be a negative, though. So are there any positives, and what were the negatives? And rather than just giving me a simple description, for example, you might say, it created an aging population. I'd like you to tell me, where possible and where appropriate, how did it create an aging population, and what is the effect of that on the country with the fact they've got far more elderly? Okay, let's have a look at the third question here. This time we have a very clear explain where you're actually being asked to explain. Not like here where these two questions where you might have chosen to describe and then maybe offer some reasons for your descriptions. Here you are actually being told to explain. Now, the question is about push and pull factors. So these are things that cause people to leave places and migrate elsewhere, so they become immigrants, or or they become pull factors, which causes them to come to a place and they become immigrants. So what are those? So when you describe a reason for maybe a pull factor, they might be pulled towards a place because of jobs. Okay, there's jobs in the place that they're getting pulled to. Well, I'd like to explain how does jobs actually cause people to want to move to a place. Okay, and it might be because of the place that they're coming from, or it might be something about the job. So there might not be any jobs, or they might be poor quality jobs in farming. That's where they're getting pushed from. And they're getting pulled because there's lots of jobs and they might be higher paid jobs, for example. So that would be the pull factor that you'd be explaining. Right, in this next question, describe what a population pyramid is showing using data from the graph. So what you're going to have to do here is these population graphs. You're going to be given these graphs and you're going to have to tell us how many people are in different age groups based on the graphs you're given. And remember, when you describe these graphs, you have to do the female side and the male side. So you have to add them together. So for example, if we take the 0 to 4 in Britain, we can see there are 2.5% males and 2.3% females. So if we add them together, that would give us 4.8% of the population is aged between 0 and 4. Okay, right. Lastly, Our last question, explain the effects of an aging population. So you will have looked at the fact that a country like Britain has many elderly, and in this question you're going to be asked to tell us how that is going to affect the country, both positive and negative reasons. So for example, if you say it's going to create problems for the healthcare system, you'd have to explain why would a country with lots of elderly create a problem for the NHS. Okay, so that's the advice. I would prepare maybe 5 little revision cards or 5 little flashcards with the kind of things that you'd like to answer for these 5, or at least 4. This one here is quite difficult to prepare an answer for because you don't know which pyramid you're going to get, but you do need to remember how to read a pyramid. So that would that's lesson number 7 is the focus for that particular one, and this one here is the focus for this one is lesson number 8. So good luck in preparing, and I hope you do well in the assessment.